One good day pre-algebra. We are starting the week with PO33, writing an equation in slope-intercept form. There's that phrase again. I said you'd see it a lot, given the graph of the equation. So in PO32, I gave you the equation, you gave me the graph. Now in PO33, I'm giving you the graph, or at least 2 points to make the graph, and then you are going to write the equation. Okay. So for starters here, we're going to redefine. We're not so much redefine as define again, slope-intercept form, and remind ourselves what all the variables in slope-intercept form represent. This was a question on the quiz you took last Friday. Okay, and so we say slope-intercept form. What is it? What is the form for slope-intercept form? Aiden.
Y equals mx plus b?
Yes, it is y equals mx plus b. And you have these same exact notes at the top of PO32. So if you get stuck, you can go back and take a look at them there. I'm having you write them out again here because not only are they applicable again, but the more that you write something, the more you read something, the more likely you are to remember it. Okay. In slope-intercept form, the x and y variables right now don't really make a difference to us. They're not really important. We haven't focused on them. Okay. We will at some point, but not quite yet. What do the x and y variables represent in slope-intercept form? Okay, so you know you're just right. Okay, yes, Yvonne. Nope, x or y don't give us the slope. Aiden?
The y-intercept and the x-intercept?
No, they do not. Not x and y. I see a lot of you flipping back to PO32 to refresh your memory. That is very good. The x variable represents the x value of any ordered pair on the line. Okay, the x value of any ordered pair that is on the line. And similarly, the y variable represents the y value of any ordered pair on the line. Okay, and like I said, we haven't really used x and y yet because what we care about when we graph these equations, we care about the slope and we care about the y-intercept, okay, which are the m and the b variables. We'll get to x and y later on, but for the graphing piece of it, we care about the slope and the y-intercept. The m variable represents which of those? Slope. And of course, we use m for that because it used to be called mlope, right? Back in the day. Did anyone Google to see if that was true? Good. And what about the b variable? What does the b variable represent? Yes. The y-intercept, formerly known as the y-bintercept, right? That's why we use b. But really, these two variables here, the m and the b, are all that we've cared about when it comes to graphing. Because the y-intercept tells us where on the y-axis this line crosses, so that's where our first point goes. And then the slope tells us where to go from there. Is it up and right? Is it down and right? And that gives us our second point so we can connect. Okay? So for today's lesson, here's what we're going to do. Go ahead and plot the 2 points in our first coordinate plane there, 0, 2, and 3, 1. Okay? Plot the points 0, 2, and 3, 1. Remember, every ordered pair is written in XY form. Right? The x-axis is the horizontal one. The y-axis is the vertical. So 0, 2 on the y-axis, 3, 1 will be there, and we'll connect them with a line. Okay? And so now your job is going to be to write the equation that gives us that line. What equation in slope-intercept form, if we were to graph it, would result in this? And what are the two things that we care about when we write equations of lines and graph lines? I said it not too long ago. The two things that we care about when graphing an equation in slope-intercept form. The slope and the y-intercept. That's it. Okay, Aiden?
In an equation, the y equals 1/4 plus 2.
So the equation could be that. It's not for this one. Okay, but we are going to be writing the equation in y equals mx plus b. Okay, and again, what we care about, what we want to find, the slope and the y-intercept. So what is the y-intercept of the line? And really there should be 23 hands in the air because 2 people are absent. What is the y-intercept of this line? Where is this line crossing the y-axis? Connor? At positive 2. Okay, so our equation is going to end with a plus 2. That's our b, right? That was one of the things that we cared about, the y-intercept. The other thing we cared about was the slope. And remember, slope tells us how we get from one point to the next. Now, why did you say 1/4, Aiden?
Because that's the slope.
Of this line?
And so,
Well, a slope of 1/4 would mean we go up 1 and to the right 4.
oh, negative 1/4.
But we aren't going 4 to the right, though. We're only moving 3, right? So we are going down 1. Remember, read a graph from left to right. Down 1 over 3. That gives us a slope of negative 1/3, right? Negative 1/3. So our equation in slope-intercept form is going to be y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. I'll write it a little bit bigger down right here. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. Okay. And remember, I kind of started this today by saying, we don't really care about the x and the y variables yet. We're not using them yet. Okay, they're in there, right? They're part of slope-intercept form. But all we are looking for to write this equation is the y-intercept of the line and the slope. Those are the two things that we need. Okay. 0, 4. Moving on to the next one now. 0, 4. Plot that point. Negative 4, positive 2. Plot that point. And we're going to connect them, whoops, to make our line. Okay. So just on your own now, I want you to identify what is the slope and what is the y-intercept here. Jot those down on your page above the graph. What is the slope? What is the y-intercept? Who's got the slope for me? How does this line move across the corner plane? Yes. Up 2 over 4, right? And that fraction, 2/4, being a fraction, we do want to simplify it. What does 2/4 simplify to be? Go ahead. 1/2, okay? And you'll notice if you go up 1 over 2, you're back on the line again, right? So up 1 over 2, up 2 over 4, they both kind of mean the same slope. So our slope, we're going to use 1/2, put it in simplest form there. And what's our y-intercept? Where does this line cross the y-axis here? Carly? At positive 4, okay? Maybe you just want to put 4. Maybe you want to put a plus 4. Maybe you put the point 0.04, okay? It doesn't really matter, but you're representing that 4 is where it crosses the y-axis. So when we go to write our equation now, right, we've got y equals mx plus b. The y and the x, they're not going to change at all. Okay, they will be in the equation as y and x. We're plugging in the slope for m and the y-intercept for b. So our equation, y equals 1/2 x plus 4. Okay? Y equals 1/2 x plus 4. Questions on this so far? Okay, let's do the next one. 0, -3, and 5, 5. So go ahead and plot 0, -3 on the y-axis, 5, 5 up there in space. And we're going to connect them with a line. Again, I would like you to identify what is the slope and what is the y-intercept. What is your M and what is your B? Who would like to share what they came up with for the slope and the y-intercept here? Go ahead, Maggie. 5/8 is what we get if we go over and then up. But remember, slope is rise over run. The vertical change comes first. So we actually want to go up or down, in this case up, the y-axis first, which you're right, is 8. And then we go over on the x-axis 5. Okay, so our slope is 8/5. Up 8 over 5. That vertical change is the numerator. Okay, and how about for the b? What's the y-intercept? Where does this cross the y-axis, Sasha? Yes, I was still thinking 4 in my head from the last one. -3. If you want to put -3 there, if you want to put 0, -3, great, but make sure you have that negative sign, because then in the equation, in slope-intercept form, it's going to show up as a -3, right? That negative sign, that -3 in the equation will be that -3. So again here, we've got slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. The y and the x are going to remain. We replace the m with 8/5, the b with a -3, which is written as -3 there, and there we have it. Y equals 8/5 x minus 3. All right. I'm going to pause the video. I would like you to do the next 3 on your own, and then bring them up to me to show me when you're finished. We'll talk about them, and then we'll get to the homework. So video pause, and when you're done with those 3, bring them up and show me. All right, and we are back. A couple of things just watch out for. Probably the most common mistake that I found was on this first one, where we have 2, 2, and 0, 3. Okay. When we need to count down the y-axis to get to our second point, down 1 over 2, that's going to make your slope a -1 over 2, right? It's that negative sign that tells us we're going down the y-axis. So for this one, y equals -1/2 x plus 3 would be the equation of that line. Okay. Otherwise, they looked really good. For this one, you've got 0, 0, and 2, 4. If you count the slope going from point to point, we get up 4 over 2. But remember that 4 over 2 simplifies to be 2 over 1, or just 2. Okay? And since that's a fraction, you should be simplifying the slope. So your equation here is y equals 2x, or 2 over 1x, plus 0. Some of you just left it that, y equals 2x, because you don't have to write the plus 0. Great. If you wanted to, that's fine too. Okay? Y equals 2x plus 0. And the last one, 0, -5, and 5, 0. Okay? Again, if you count the slope going up 5 and over 5, that slope of 5/5 simplifies to be just 1. Okay? So you could write y equals 1x minus 5, or even just y equals x minus 5, because with that coefficient of 1, we don't have to write it. It's understood that it's there. Okay? But those are the 3 equations that you should have for those. Yes, sir?
Would it still be accepted if you still wrote like 5, 5 minus and plus of instead of just x? Or
For now, yeah. Well, we're still kind of learning what slope is, but it's a good habit to writing it correctly. Just like in when my daughter was in kindergarten and she would come home and she would spell words wrong all over the place. It was like, well, we're focusing more on letter formation. We're focusing more on getting words on paper. We want them to spell it right eventually, but right now it was just the process. That's kind of where we at here. You can misspell the slope by not simplifying it, but eventually that's where we need to go. So, all right, other questions on this? Okay, your homework is the second page. You've got 9 of them to do, but a little more space to work and write your equation, so that should be nice. And we'll go over this tomorrow. Okay? If that's all you have for me, that's all I have for you. And with gusto, we say, that's how you math.